All right, so we're back with another video. Drama queen. I'm the boogeyman. I'm going to convert your children to becoming trans, each and every single one of them. I'm some sort of massive pervert, according to most of the internet, even though I keep to myself and I haven't been in a serious relationship for over 10 years. Hi, welcome back to another video. I use my transgender terrorist powers to use ChatGPT to poison the water supply to get information on these anti-trans legislatures because I don't care anymore. ChatGPT is often wrong. I know a lot of people will be upset hearing that, but at the same time, I have to keep my thoughts somewhat organized and gather this information without going crazier than I need to, obviously, because I'm such a short fuse and I'm insane and I have mental illness, according to our wonderful, wonderful government leadership. Welcome back to another video. We're going to talk about a couple things that are on my mind with certain things that are going on right now. It's really kind of frustrating because, like, there's a few things to go over. It's like between certain legislature, between just. So I wanted to like start off that like my local area, the county that I live in, refuses to recognize like LGBTQ, um, the identities of that, and to like push off any sort of like attempt to get like a pride parade or anything out here. And as being someone that's like never really been in the whole like, okay, I need to go to the pride scene, I need to be at each one of these kind of things, and how many events, and I don't even know how many events, but it's only like how many days in the month of what, June, and it's like nobody actually like cares. Nobody actually should care except for like the trans community. There's something called football where like guys like touch each other's butts the whole time, and I don't think it's any more graphic at like a drag show. In fact, most drag queens kind of perform like solo, so they're not grabbing anybody's butt. Um, but whatever. To each their own. We have the House Bill 249 in Ohio that just passed the House yesterday. And it's really kind of fun to see this one because it's not a bathroom ban. It's not extreme like the Idaho bathroom ban where it's a 5-year prison sentence for the second offense kind of thing. And that we know that they're like forced detransitioning trans people in prisons, and that we know that like if you end up in a nice facility that you're not able to receive access to your medication regardless who you are most of the time, but especially if you're like a trans person that's being wrongfully detained for an extended period of time. If you listen to some of these news channels, you do hear these stories, and it's really kind of upsetting and unnerving, and it's just hit the point where like I would have liked to travel, and I'm scared because like ICE is at like the local airports, and so like I'm just kind of like manically throwing away my money because I'm like too scatterbrained, and I don't even feel safe in public in my area anymore. I used to be able to use like such confidence whenever I was out, and I never had like that issue. I never like let any of this get to me, but at this point I'm really kind of looking over my shoulder, a little bit paranoid. It's not a good look on me. And that's where I'm at with things, and that's like the goal, that's the intent. Even if there's no true damage done, even if there's no true laws and litigations that affect me in my county kind of thing, it's still scary. It's still scary how things could be enforced potentially because my county doesn't exactly recognize my existence. But anyway, back to the House Bill 249 in Ohio. I had to travel to Ohio for my surgeries, my follow-ups, and my 1 week follow-up after surgery, it was like 9 days when we got scheduled. I headed out, and like I was terrified because like there were reports that ICE was just being deployed in Ohio. I just heard about like the Alex Preddy event right after surgery. Totally awesome on my nerves, by the way. Whenever your nerves are absolutely shot and like you've spent like the past like 6 months worrying if your insurance is still going to be around to cover your surgery by the time that you try to get the surgery kind of thing. It's been awesome and cool and just great. My stress is like beyond the point of like repair, it feels like, and like I can't use my money like I need to be using my money. I can't save anything, and I can't work because of my health conditions to the point that I don't end up hurting myself and ending up in physical therapy and having like lifelong pains because I'm not treating the underlying issue, and it's like impossible to actually get into like a. But anyway, enough about me. We're going to get back to the Ohio bill. So here's the thing with the broad picture of this. It kind of bans the presence of drag performers in public. It's like the Indecent Exposure Act, essentially, right? Is what it's called, something like that. And then so like for a trans person to exist in public, it's like, what does that mean exactly? So it bans drag queens from performing in venues that aren't 18 plus. So this essentially makes it that like a pride parade, like potentially like a drag queen can't perform there kind of thing. But at the same time, it's so loosely worded that like a trans person that's like reading publicly at like a book reading event or like performing in some other way could easily fall under this category. And I feel like most people in Ohio probably aren't even going to realize that this is like a law, that if it ends up passing kind of thing, it got past the House, has to go to the Senate. The Senate's going to vote it through. They're going to vote it through. They don't care. They don't value trans life. The GOP, right? The Republican Party largely just kind of wants us to suffer as much as they can. All the meanwhile, you see the stories like daily of what they do to children. It's just like one after another. This one did an anti-trans legislature, and now they are in trouble for what they were doing with children. It's like day in and day out. But then the trans communities accused of grooming, and I've literally never seen it once. I've seen like other trans women that are like disgusted by anybody that's interested in anyone younger on the younger end, not even like underage, but even on the younger end. So it's like that's where we're kind of at. I don't know. It's really fun. It's really cool. I love it. It's great. Um, we're finding a solution to a problem that doesn't exist because like I wanted to say like I did go to a pride parade, and it was in an area that I have no idea how they actually like managed to get like a pride parade thing. It wasn't a parade, but it was like an event. It was just like this little block of a street that was blocked off, and they had a couple drag queens come out. There was a drag king and like music, and then like I went and got a water with this other girl, and like I met up with them, and like I didn't even know they were going to be there. We were talking online a little bit, and it was just kind of funny because we ran into each other. But like I went and got one of the free waters, and the guy's like, you give a man water or something. I don't know. They gave me some riddle, some religious like thing. It's something like you give someone a water, you drink from this. Yeah, you drink from this. Well, you'll be thirsty, but if you drink from the well from God, you'll never go thirsty again, or something like that. And I'm just like, yeah, cool, all right. And I just like was cool with it. But then like the other girl was Christian and got in like a little bit of a tiff with them, and they were like talking about like how you need to accept your gender and stuff. And it's like, this is at a pride event, by the way. There were people across the road that were screaming, bring back America. There was multiple of them. There was like 20 or 30 guys that were masked up. This was before 2025. This was mid 24, right? But like I talked to the girl afterwards, and they were just like, "What did they expect was gonna happen? That I was gonna be like, I'm a guy," and it was just the funniest thing. I was like, anyway, it's what do you like? Why can't people just live their own lives? Why does it affect you so badly? If somebody's in public living a certain way, why don't you judge other people? If somebody's drinking a beer on the side of the street, if somebody's whatever. Do you lecture everybody in your life? Doesn't it get tiring? Does it ever get boring to have to like consistently have to attack trans people because you just don't understand the lifestyle? I get that you don't understand the lifestyle. You're not living the lifestyle. You don't have to like bombard us with like your nonsense, because like we're not bombarding you with our nonsense. We're largely keeping to ourselves kind of thing. And I think like if you understood how many trans people were like really passing and out there in public, like I don't know. I guess what can I say, because like you only get so much information online. You're only fed like a certain demographic of like what trans people look like and what trans people are and whatever. And like I haven't shaved my face in like 5 days, and I need electrolysis badly, but even still, this is where my facial hair is. Like there's a lot of things people don't understand about the trans community, and that's fine. Not everybody needs to understand everything. But when you feed a group of people a bunch of misinformation, this type of stuff ends up happening. So, a little bit unrelated to the trans news note, but like the military recruitment age went from 35 to 42 recently. It doesn't change the draft status. Just letting everyone know, the draft is still going on for males between 18 and 25. So, I want to take a moment here and say something, because this is something I've never done in my 13 years of transitioning. Um, I've never pushed the idea of somebody else to transition. In fact, personally, I like the idea of gatekeeping it a little bit, because, in that sense, less people know about it. One, two, there's less blowback because there's less variety. And I understand variety is the spice of life. I understand that variety is a good thing. But to the general public, when there's too much variety of trans people, there's certain niches that people really just don't understand. Yes, there's people that are on, like, you know, ADHD medication that shouldn't be on, and they identify as trans and they act a certain way. There's also cis people that do that, but at the same time, whenever we see this online and people are just like really just spaced out of it, like gonzo kind of thing, you may only have seen two other trans people videos, and this is like now your interpretation of what all trans people are. So it's just like, I don't know, maybe just people that have like their stuff together. And it's kind of impossible. I'm a bit scatterbrained myself. I don't know what people's opinions are on me. A lot of people generally in like day-to-day life don't have a problem with me. They enjoy my company. But it's been really hard whenever like I continue to see like the like to dilute my ability to just be confident and outgoing and happy and just like be me kind of thing, because I can't just be me kind of thing, because like I have to wonder, is this guy gonna like be one of these absolutely insane people that you read the news articles about, and then like put me down in a parking garage, like how many of these other trans people that are ending up getting their lives taken from them prematurely, and it's only reported on briefly. And people seem to love laugh reacting those type of news stories on Facebook, by the way. I don't see that on any other type of incident of somebody having their life taken prematurely, like it's something that is considered a tragedy, that something that would be on the murder mystery shows, and people would be like, and their lives were so taken so short. It's really just desensitizing, like, me as a member of this community. It's really kind of like twisting me up a little bit, and it's hard because, like, I'm doing my best to not snap for the community. I'm doing my best to like maintain my cognitives, because we're all just doing the best that we can. But at the same time, the more you focus on the news, the more you see things just gradually deteriorate, and that you're slowly losing your ability to even exist in this country. That there's certain states, oh, now this state has this going on, oh, okay, that's another state that I can't go into in a window of 2 weeks. Now there's like, oh, these two states, I'm not allowed to even like go there anymore without facing a chance of like a shortcoming, or it's terrifying. It's been terrifying. And whenever the Lumpkin Institute of Genocide, which the guy that literally invented the word for genocide created this institute kind of thing, is saying that like there's the trans genocide and it's on this step, and like more people need to pay attention to it. This is what we're kind of talking about, because it's like we have the IDs and the birth certificates being taken away, government issued retroactively, no downtime, revoked, like nullified. You have to go apply again. No courtesy to like getting to the DMV but also having bounty hunters in your state. So what better place for a bounty hunter to hang out than the DMV kind of thing? Trying to get back on topic again. It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating that this is day in and day out, and you wake up in the morning and it's like, I wonder what we lose today. I wonder what, as a community, we lose today. I wonder how many of my people within my network I have to see suffer because of some sad old man making a decision today. So this is where, where my life's at. But anyway, I've never like forced my lifestyle on anyone or said any, like, yes, you should definitely transition. If anybody's ever asked me about this type of stuff, I would be like, you have to understand this is a lifelong commitment. This isn't for everyone. You have to have access to medications. And like more recently in history, people are scrutinizing you just for existing, to the point that it's not the same experience that it was, even 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even when like gay marriage was just being accepted, kind of thing, more universally in the States, that things have just really taken a turn, right? Um, some people will argue like it's probably better to exist as a trans person today than it was 10 years ago, and it absolutely is not. The problem with that is there's just too much focus on the existence of trans people. There's too much of transgender for everyone on TV. Literally, you worry about like um, us pushing our lifestyles on people, but you literally have the president coming out and saying transgender for everybody, like every single day. And what does that do to people? I'm sure he's been like the leading source of people investigating into like, should I start hormones? I guarantee you, anybody starting hormones more recently is more because of him than the actual trans community, because the trans community has been keeping to itself lately. So this is how I interpret that. But whatever, more power to them. If you're 18 and you don't want to get drafted, there's always the ability to start hormones. This is the new me. This is me speaking rationally to you as an adult. You're an adult now. You can make an adult decisions. Do you want to die in a war for a rich person to get richer? That there's been literally no reason to go over there. That literally the people in the army are being briefed as they're being sent over to Iran, early stages of this war, that this is God's plan, and that like this is the second coming of Christ, and you're the fodder for it, essentially. Make your decision now. Uh, obviously, I don't want to lose access to my medication. I don't want to have issues with um, coverage or prices going up or whatever. But if I'm going to lose access to my stuff anyway, I mean, you might as well do what you can to help out people. It's not so bad. If you ever thought about transitioning, yeah, go ahead. Please go ahead. It's time. Start hormones. It's time, right? All I do is force my lifestyles on people. This is what the news has been telling me. That's what I'm going to start doing. You want me to do that? I'm going to start doing that. I'll do that. How about that? Um, Make up your own mind. Do you want to go be fodder for a rich person war that you're not going to see any benefit within your country? In fact, things are going to progressively get worse until they just get worse because we're losing the war. Or, transition. Just transition. You can hang out here. I'll see you. I'll see you in the incinerator whenever they decide to start putting us there. Anyway, the next little thought is transitioning. The transitioning. Oh yeah. Okay, so they're converting trans people in prisons, taking them off their medications. There's 2,200 individuals, and this is something that I've talked about before as well. So this is my last kind of thought on the video, because what else? What else do I got to get into today? There's not a lot else to get into. But this is troubling and upsetting because like certain facilities have certain rules, and there's like state prisons, federal prisons, there's like different layers of this. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I don't know the incarceration system so well. I don't know which one's like the bad one or which one's but at the same time, from what I'm reading, certain facilities don't have to implement this. There was a lawsuit, lawsuits that are going on with this, that it's like preventing certain places from implementing this on trans people that are incarcerated, right? So like I just don't know how this plays out. Like if you haven't had bottom surgery and you're in prison, maybe that makes you more of a target to this type of ruling, I guess, because like the takeaway from this, right, is that they're forcibly detransitioning transgender women in prisons to preserve their fertility. So I just wanted to go over this little bit again because I have to say this every day. I'm infertile. Trans people are usually infertile. Like, I don't have any sort of thing when I do the thing, right? So like that's kind of out of the question. And then even if I did, the likelihood of me being like entirely infertile is probably pretty high, if not like expected. Like I think I'm probably at that point. Um, so it's just like I don't know what you think is going to happen. And stopping hormones doesn't exactly make that happen unless you stop hormones and also give testosterone to these people. And then, even then, does that truly fix the issue? I don't think it does. It's, like for everyone, I think it depends on how many years you've been on hormones. If you don't use it, you lose it, kind of thing. Um, and like I've said in other videos of mine, my doctor has said if I were to stop estrogen, I'm literally never getting back to a cisgender male's testosterone level. I have said in many videos recently, my testosterone is 3 to 7 times lower than a cisgender female's testosterone. Everybody has testosterone and everybody has estrogen in some window, regardless if you're on hormone replacement or not. That's a news flash to some people. It shouldn't be. If we did better at educating people in, you know, our school systems, then maybe people would understand this. Maybe this wouldn't be a blowback and an issue to my existence every time that I have to like communicate certain thoughts to people. Um, but that's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's just the idea that this is even happening, that like um, the our men's must be given in the meds must be given in federal prisons currently until the lawsuits are resolved or modified. So federal prisons, that's where we're at right now. Is this like reversible? Yes, there's a chance that like there's going to be a decision made on this that it's not considered medically necessary. If you've had bottom surgery, you're going to literally have organ failure after a couple weeks. The trans community is absolutely terrified of this because we can't like get heads or tails of the entirety of the situation. Like we don't know how actually bad it is because like this stuff isn't exactly fully reported on. We're not like communicating to every single trans person in a prison system right now. If I could get one on a cell phone and do like a vid chat whatever and like talk about things and like the conditions and everything, cool, I will do that. That would be awesome. um but I don't expect that and I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I just want to leave you with the thought of this. If you cannot produce children, if you are not capable of bearing offspring, you are no different than a trans person in the eyes of the government looking at something like this. The government values you on your ability to reproduce. If you are unable to reproduce, you are less than human. It does seem like that's like how it looks, right? Right? Um, the value of a trans person's life is far lesser than the value of somebody that can breed, right? Um, there's reasons why they want us to detransition. They literally just want us for our genitals. It's fun, and then we use children. We have Dr. Oz, and we have the other guy, the RFK guy, coming on the news talking about how, like, these child sex change procedures, mutilation, whatever, and oh, they're going to get a penis and they're going to get a balls. And, like, it's just like we're going to give, but like using graphic imagery to kind of give you the idea of like this isn't appropriate for children. These are like terms that you shouldn't be saying about children even, but this is like how the administration is going about this to give you a shock factor and make you think like this is something that needs to be changed. And largely like these gender affirming surgeries for trans youth are pretty much non-existent. Like I've said before, it's the gynecomastia for like guys that grow a chest and they need a chest reduction, but you prefer a society where like heavier guys can't get their chest reduced, or like not even heavier, that they have these conditions that make them develop breast tissue and they can't get that removed. But that's your idea of, you know, narcissism, I guess, to deny people the ability to live their lives as they wish, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and people that know themselves better than you. To punish them is some sort of absolute, by definition, delusional type of existence. I think it's weird that, you know, people that have no they don't live our lives. They don't live our lifestyle. They're not in this bubble. They don't need the representation that we do in public life just to exist. I understand that like the takeaway of like pride parades and whatever could be that like, it's not my life. I don't want to see it, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. I never wanted to see sports. Why do I have to see that when I see a TV? Do I have to go to like a through a court system and try to file something to get like ban sports altogether because I don't like watching sports? I don't like people yelling whenever they catch the ball. So, it's like, can we like learn to live with each other? I kind of think that's important. And like the other little thing that I wanted to add was at the Pride event that I was at, there were people with rebel flags revving their tires, doing burnouts whenever people were singing or just talking. And the people talking were like pretty inspirational in the sense that they were like, the way society seems like it's healing, for us to be able to have this event in this area, which is largely against like the LGBT kind of window, right? And people doing burnouts, people chanting across the road with the flags, their faces masked up, literal like, I don't know what to call them, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if like half of them or more are in ICE right now. Um, and just walking by them with the other girl and just like looking over at these guys and just being like, you know what? Whatever, I'm living my life, you're living your life. Like, I don't know why you would choose this, but I think they probably feel the same, but I don't know what what they're trying to get across with it. But at the same time, the one takeaway that I wanted to put was like that for drag queens to not be around children, or like the idea that it's like this, like, you know, what kids start thinking of it, and they start thinking crazy things because they see a drag queen in public or whatever. There were a bunch of little kids and they were dancing around and they liked the music. Oh, Born This Way. Oh, okay. And whatever, playing, and the drag queens doing all sorts of goofy things as drag queens do, right? And there's a little girl that had like a T-Rex hand on. And I'm just thinking, like, looking back at that, like, if she, did she think that the dinosaur was real? Is the dinosaur going to turn her into a dinosaur? Like, is the T-Rex going to turn her into a dinosaur now? Like, I'm just like, I'm trying to make a sense of like the takeaway of that, because it just seemed like everybody was just like having fun. Like, it didn't seem like it seemed really innocent overall. And I understand where the headspace of some people could be if you take things that never happen and manifest them, and take what certain news outlets tell you are happening and manifest them in the thoughts of like what's actually happening. But the reality is, like, I was there and I got to see that it was like some of the most innocent innocent stuff. Like, and I also want to leave you with my final thought of my one friend. When I used to go to the gym pretty much every day in like like throughout 2024, my one friend was like cool with me, my best friend through high school, and they just slowly started deteriorating closer to election time. That like they would listen to whatever news outlets, and they were cool with me for since high school, since like 10th grade, we've been like kind of best friends, and they got to the point where they couldn't like talk to me without saying that like they wished that like I'd detransition, and that like they missed their old friend. And I'm just like, your old friend was like somebody that had hyperhidrosis, chronic pain, and hated their life and was like on the verge of like taking theirs. Like, I don't know why you want that, but okay. um and it got to the point where they just stopped talking to me because I wouldn't detransition, kind of thing. um and they were largely like accepting of me, but then something started to change, and we just haven't talked since the end of 24, basically. um but the one thing I want to leave you with is that my friend brought up at a point to me, made like, we had a conversation. They had to make this point that they love drag queens. They absolutely love drag queens. Hardcore MAGA, crazy MAGA, um, devolved into, unfortunately. They used to be a decent person. um, and, but they made it clear that they're like, oh, I absolutely love drag queens. They're so fun. They're so funny. And like, I love going to drag shows. And so like, I got nothing else to say. That's, do with that information as you will, right? Bye. Until the next one.